I find Twitter to be more accessible, more convenient, and less time consuming than a discussion board on my part and your part. So I'm still working with the Twitter and how to use it more effectively, but you are required to make a minimum, a maximum of 3. You are required to post a comment on Twitter every week, and you're not allowed to post more than 3 comments in a given week. Now, to get to the writing assignments, because these are the ones that are often difficult for the students, because students find it very difficult to have choice over the topics. Now, I've incorporated what I use for what I look for in it, but how you address the things I look for is up to you. And the topic you choose to write about is up to you. You have ownership over the topic. And sometimes I feel the students find it difficult because they really are given ownership in what they want to explore in a given course. So my formal journals, response-to-response journals, the RTRs, and the final revision papers are designed along what I call writing to unlearn. I believe writing can be dialectical in nature, meaning that while you learn in this class, you should be unlearning some of the assumptions and myths you brought in the class. And this means that the hope for the assignments is that while you learn new ideas, you unlearn old and more often than not oppressive concepts and practices. What I mean by this is that if I was to each have you write down your definition of race, class, gender, and sexuality, you'd be able to provide me some type of definition. You'd have some understanding of these issues that we're going to be talking about in this class. But I want you to take a moment and ask yourself, how many of you have ever taken an ethnic studies class before? How many of you have ever taken a women's studies class before? How many of you have taken a queer studies class before? How many of you have taken a class on African Americans, or on Latinos, or on Native Americans, or on Asian and Pacific Islanders? If you're like my face-to-face class, a few of you have. But the overwhelming majority of you have not. This tells me that everything you know about race, class, gender, and sexuality, you've learned from the media, friends, and family. Who friends and family, in turn, learn from the media and other friends and family members. In this course, we look at these things from an academic perspective, which looks at them differently. So we're presenting different ideas than what many of you have come to that many of you have in understanding these concepts. We know that the media often relies on stereotypes. And what I've come to understand in this country, most of our understanding of race, let's say, focusing on race, is through these stereotypes. We really don't know race outside of the stereotypes. Most of us have never taken time to look at the history of these different racial and ethnic communities. Very few of us have taken the time to interact on any great extent with other communities other than the ones we connect with in terms of race and ethnicity. So we have a very limited understanding of race in this country. This course is really set up to help broaden your understanding of this thing. But for me, it's important in this unlearning process that you begin to develop the skills of unlearning. That you are always, when you're looking at new information, to be able to understand and question that new information while gaining a greater understanding and beginning to question the information you knew before, and positioning yourself in the middle of this conversation. To me, this is an important aspect of not just being a student, but of being a human being. To move towards developing critical thinking skills, and I talk more about these in the issue on Paulo Freire, on the video on Paulo Freire. So this idea of unlearning takes place, or I hope to take place in your writing assignments. The requirements for the formal journals and response-to-response journals are they are to be 3 to 4 pages long, double spaced using a 12 font. You must meet the required page length. If you write 2.5 to 3 pages, you get graded down considerably. You must include quotes, not only from one source, but from multiple sources. And you must incorporate self-reflection. I really want to know what this information means to you. You do not need to cite the quotes as you would in a standard research paper. However, you do have to introduce the quote using the writer's name or the title of the article. My grading evaluation, I talk about it having 3 key elements for me. First, demonstrated knowledge. I want to know you understand the topic that you've chosen to write about. This includes bringing in key terms, ideas, definitions about these. So say if you're going to talk about racism, there are 3 or 4 definitions of racism given by different writers in this class. Plus, I added another definition of what I call effective racism. If racism is going to be your topic, then I want you to show me that you have a definition for racism and not just say, well, racism is bad for this country, but to define what racism is. So in this first aspect, again, demonstrated knowledge, I look for how effectively you demonstrate your understanding of the topic or topics you address in your papers. Second, analysis. I see an analysis as your opinion about the particular topic you've chosen to write about. Well, everyone has an opinion. The difference between a personal opinion and an academic opinion is the academic opinion must be supported by quotes and or personal examples. You just can't give your opinion on something without supporting that opinion using the readings or using personal examples. So I will be looking for your opinion, how effectively you develop your opinion about the topic you're addressing, but also how well you support your opinion by quotes and personal examples. In the second aspect of analysis, I also will be looking for how you reflect back on the information or reflect back on what you knew of this topic prior to this assignment or prior to this class. Like I said, you all have ideas about these topics. You all have your opinions about these topics. I am looking at an analysis, a kind of a type of analysis that allows you to connect with the knowledge or your opinion that you bring into class. And third, self-reflection. I look for how effectively you demonstrate what impact this topic or this research has had on you. I want to know how this information affects who you are or what you believe. I look to see how the information has changed your opinion, changed how you see yourself, or has reaffirmed your opinion or how you see yourself. Like every aspect, you must define terms and concepts you use from the readings, and this includes any additional information that I bring in the video lectures. I also evaluate on basic writing skills such as idea development, details, how detailed you are, complexity, the number, variety of sources and examples you use, organization, clarity, so on and so on. While these issues will not play a major role in my evaluation, a poorly written paper will dramatically affect your point total.